All right, so I'm going to walk you through this roll top desk project I did in Fusion 360 and then built with a combination of a CNC router just for this groove part here, and then the rest of it is easy to do on a table saw and maybe a chop saw. You could probably do the whole thing with a circular saw. It's not that complicated. Um, so the first thing to know is that if you go to modify, change parameters, it's all parameterized. So the important one here probably will be the thickness. So wood thickness right here, 0.6875, which is 5/8, right? I think that's 5/8. Um, it's That's the thickness of the project panels I used to make this project. If you change that to, for example, 0.75, I'm going to hit the tab key. You'll see it's going to think for a second. It's going to load down here. And then if I did everything right, you should see, yeah, errors pretty much all the time, but um, no big explosions, no parts in weird places or anything like that. It's pretty good. I've tried it with a few different sizes, and I haven't really seen any major problems with it. So if you've got 3/4 inch plywood or even 1/2 inch or something like that, it probably would still just work just fine. Um, so that's part number one. I'm gonna undo so that it's the actual dimensions. Um, the second thing about this one is the obviously the roll top, right? How do you figure out the geometry for that? And I'll walk you through that real quick. But just first, as a concept, understand that the way this works is there's just a sheet of cloth behind this thing, just some canvas fabric, and then these are all glued to that so that they're adjacent to each other, and it basically just creates a little hinge effect along this edge right here. So if I move around, you see that that's the edge that the thing hinges on. And this thing works pretty good. It's a little tight in there, a little awkward when you're going up this part right here when you're pushing the thing, but the rest of it, I mean, it opens and closes smoothly and works just fine. Um, you can see that it covers the whole top. I would have made this groove deeper if I were planning on this being visible in the back. I might also just put a panel back there that covers this thing up, right? So that you don't see the inner workings of the roll top going through the track. But in my case, it's up against a wall, so I'm not messing with that. Um, so to explain how that works, I will start with this sketch right here. So I'll right click and edit. Um, and then I'm going to right click on this and isolate that component. Um, Now this line here is something I projected from a previous part, right? I looked at my side here, which I think is side shelf, inside, outside panel. It's going to be inside. So you can see I drew this so that I've got a 1/4 inch gap between this groove here and the edge of the piece of wood, right? Started with that. And then I just kind of arbitrarily said, okay, well, I guess 1 3/4 inches is a good radius there. I think I could work with that. That was just a shot in the dark. I didn't really test it out. I just went with it. Um, and then from that, I started with a single slat, 1/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. Once again, those are parameters. So if you look at change parameters, you should see 0.25 rail thickness and then rail width, 0.75. There's a line from the center of this radius to the midpoint, right? So that is my midpoint of the shape of my slat from sectional view. And then I make sure this point and this point are touching, right? So I know that they're going to be on that line. And then make sure this is on the midpoint of this center line between the middle of the arc and the center point. I know these two dimensions, and then I offset this line here. So I was thinking this groove is going to start at 1/4 of an inch, and I'll sort of go from there. It looks like I need a 0.042 inch gap to make this tangent to the inside line. So that this is ensuring that this rectangle will actually fit inside here and be able to move around inside that groove. Now notice there's no tolerance, right? I didn't add a tolerance here, which obviously you would do if you were going to stick with this square profile. but I routed off these edges at about 1/8 of an inch, so they'd be round, and I knew that would give me enough slop because you'll be able to see here, right? So if I were to do this and then 0.125 by 2, you know, that's about what I ended up with. So I know I will have some room in there, and that's how I figured out a single slat. And then I'm going to undo to get out of here, and I will go to this sketch, edit this, and this is how I figured out all of the additional slots to make sure that they would all fit and that they would fully cover the top. So as you can see, I've got a note there. There's 26 of them. We're looking at the front here. So I'm starting with, okay, I know this is it in a closed position, right? So I've got my rectangle that's this this parameter by this parameter, thickness by width, and then I just start chasing them up. So I can draw these individually and add the parameters. I could do a pattern using the parameters. The only thing you really need to do manually is here, right? So again, you can see these lines are projected. So there's that profile right there. This basically, using these lines here, you can see all these little constraints on everything, right? So there's a rectangle. This is tangent to this. These points are coincident with this part right here. And I'm just making sure they're in the hinge position is there, and that these points are touching the outer edge of the groove. And then you do the same thing back here. And I stopped at 26 because I didn't want to, I wanted to be able to use another project panel for the back. And that was kind of my limit as far as how far down it could go and still be structurally sound. So that's why they don't go all the way down in the back. Also, you can't see it, so it doesn't matter. And that's pretty much it. So once I figured that out, the rest is just basic, rectangles here. I've got these little ledges because I know those are going to be structurally sound. This thing won't bow. It comes apart in pieces. You'll see that in the drawings and the instructable. So yeah, thanks for watching, and for more info and for the plans and all that stuff, just check out the instructable.